instance, 4, 3, 4, just. So I don't own a mask, but then I remembered my friend Silvana sent me this Yale thing. I think this is a ski mask, but you can actually still breathe through it. So I solved that problem by putting in a sock. And between the sock and the mask, it's very, very difficult to breathe, meaning that it is effective as a mask. If you see me in Kroger with one of these, you can say hi from over 6 feet away. Now, let's talk about what is a symphony. And I've sent you some links to some of my favorite symphony movements. And then you should also have a link to the Webern Symphony Opus 21. And I very much want you to listen to the first movement of that symphony, and don't just have it on in the background. Really listen and be like, okay, what's going on? How would I describe this piece? You know, we're getting towards the end of 2 years of music theory, so my hope is that you have a good sense of like what your expectations are in a musical work. Well, let's take a look at the Webern Symphony Opus 21, and it's on page 186. So if you need to, go ahead and pause and listen to this piece. Now let's talk about what the ensemble is, because we have a lot of German on here. So first of all, it looks like he dedicated this work to his daughter Christine. And we have clarinet and bass clarinet. We have 2 horns. We have a harp. We have first violin, second violin, viola, and cello. So it looks like we have wind instruments. We have some horns, we have brass, we have a harp, and we have some strings. Now, this is the whole ensemble. This is it. Are there any instruments that you think are missing from this symphony? I am going to pose that question. Now, I do want to also tell you that this score is at least nice to us because it is in C. When a score is in C, what that means is any of the instruments that would normally be transposed are not transposed. Instead, they have the concert pitch. So for example, bass clarinet is typically not written in bass clef. When a clarinetist plays bass clarinet, they're looking at treble clef, but because they play a transposing instrument, the instrument sounds low. So instead of transposing, we're actually going to get the actual concert notes. So we don't have to do any transposing like we did when we looked at like the Stravinsky, for example. And he had like horn in F, or he had trumpet in D, or clarinet in B flat, right? We don't have to like figure out the actual note. These are all notes that are using concert pitch. Now, we do know that since this is a later work by Webern, it's his Opus 21, that this piece uses 12 tone. And it just so happens that I have a row right here for us. We've got our P's, of course, going this way, and our I's going that way. Retrogrades and retrograde inversions. And take a look at P0, and then look at R6. Look at P0 and R6. You'll notice that this is a symmetrical row. That if we take it and we transpose it up six half steps and do it backwards, it's the same thing. So we saw that with the Berg lyric suite, and now we're seeing it with the Webern Symphony Opus 21. So you've listened to it. You've been thinking about, is this a symphony? It is a symphony. It's called Symphony Opus 21. But be thinking about that as we're looking at this, because so far you're probably not seeing a lot of relationship between this symphony and the ones that I sent you the links to. Well, because we're doing 12-tone, we do get to use colored pencils. Let's see. I like this teal. And maybe this kind of, what is this? Violet. I don't know how many I need, but let me grab a few more. Here's some red. Feel like I gotta throw in some brown. All right. Yeah, this box didn't really have any of the good colors. Must be in the other box. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you that these are hard to find, but I'll walk you through it. Let's start with some P0, and I'm going to color code. So P0 is going to be that color. And it's going to start right here with the horn. So here we have a direct repeat, which is legitimate. And then it goes to G, A flat. So there is A, F sharp, G, A flat. Now we're looking for E and F, B, B flat. And you're going to have some trouble finding E, F, B, B flat because it's not any of these notes nearby. It goes over here. That's nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the next note will be D, C sharp, C, E. D, C sharp, C, E. D, C sharp, C, all right, so there's the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, again, this isn't something that I would expect you to be able to find on your own. That's not what the point is so far. The point is, how did Webern treat his row? We're going to discover a little bit more about that by looking for another row and seeing the comparison between this one and a second one. So I'm going to go ahead and look for my next one, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, let's do the inversion of this. So if this is P0, the inversion would be I0. And there it is in the other horn. Keep in mind that these are both bass clef. So this one started A, F sharp. This one's starting A, C. So now we're going to look for this row. I0. A, C, B, B flat. Now the next four notes are D, C sharp, G, A flat. sharp, G, A flat. Now you can notice that the first time horn 1 went to clarinet, horn 2 will go to bass clarinet. So notice that it's sort of following a pattern. Horn 1 had 4 notes, and then when the horn 2 came in with the inversion, it came in with 4 notes. Then horn 1 passed to clarinet with 4 notes. Horn 2, the other horn passed to bass clarinet with 4 notes. Now this horn is passing to low strings, which is exactly what the other one will do. Our next notes after A flat are E, F, F sharp, E flat, and it will also pass so you should see that there is actually a pattern. Horn to clarinet to low strings. The next one goes horn to clarinet to low strings with the inversion of the pitches. We have a name for this when we have one voice comes in and does something, and then another voice comes in and imitates it. We call that imitation, right? But we would also call it a canon, right? When the second voice comes in imitating the first and then follows along. This happens to be a canon in inversion. So when the first one comes in, row, row, row your boat. The second one comes in, row, row, row your boat, and does the exact opposite. So that's what's going on between these two parts. We have a canon and inversion, and not only is it an inversion in terms of the pitches, right, P0 and I0, it's also an inversion, or it's also imitating in terms of the actual timbres of the instruments. And that is very, very important. We have a name for that. The name is Klangfarben Melody. We have to love those Germans for taking a whole lot of words and putting it into one word. So how would we do this? Tone, color, melody, or timbre melody. So this is kind of a difficult thing to describe, but I'm going to take a shot. So usually when we listen to a melody, the things that change about it are pitch and rhythm. The rhythm changes, the pitch changes. But when we do a melody, we don't listen for timbre change, right? Because usually, let's say it's a trumpet, the trumpet plays, you hear trumpet timbre. And then somebody else gets the melody, the violin, you hear violin timbre. But what if the actual melody itself was a change in timbre? What if one of the features of the melody was not just that it changed notes, but also the actual color of the sound changed? So that's what Webern is going for in this piece. He is creating music where the melody itself, one of its features or components is the fact that it has changes in the color of the sound as it goes through the music. Now, let's see if we can, I'm going to go ahead and show you where our other two rows are, and then you'll start to see just how detailed this is. So we need another color, and I'm going to tell you that we have I8 starting here. And if we look for I8 on the chart, it's right here. So it'll start F, A flat, G, F sharp. There's our F, flat, G, F sharp. The next four notes are B flat A, E flat E, B flat. Oh, I already goofed. No. Try that again. B flat, A, E flat, E. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, should be an 8. And then C, C sharp, D, B. C, C sharp, D, B. So take a look, another tone color melody. Pluck, because it's the harp. Pluck, pizzicato. Pluck, bow, bow, pluck, pluck, horn, horn, pluck, pluck. And lastly we have, I think this is P4 here. Got P4 starting with that other horn. Should start C sharp, B flat, B, C. C sharp, B flat, B, C. A flat, A flat, A, E flat, D, F sharp, F, E, G, F sharp, F. Oh, where's my E, G? That's way over here. And let's look at these. Do you see how they are the same Klangfarben melody? Horn, pluck, pluck, arco, bow, and then it will go bow, pluck, and then pluck, horn, horn, pluck, pluck. So same thing, we've got a Klangfarben melody where it's passed around on these different ones. So, we have the tone color melody, and I also want to point out that a lot of people will compare this to a visual art style. Are you familiar with pointillism? So a pointillism is when an artist, rather than drawing with brushes and lines like this, they use dots. And if you look really closely, all you see are dots. You don't see a picture, you just see dots. But then when you stand way back, suddenly you see a picture. All the dots become a big, beautiful picture, or maybe a big, ugly picture. Who knows? And of course, the most famous of the pointillists is Seurat. And I would very much encourage you to Google pointillism in art, and you can see some of those paintings yourself and get the idea. A lot of people feel that Webern's use of Klangfarben melody in that way is the same. We just hear this one tone. Right? It just sounds like random sounds. But the idea is if you step back and take it all in, then you see the bigger picture. You see all these relationships, all these connections, that there's actually a symphony of complexity and relationships and everything about it fits together. I'm going to show you just a couple more things. Look at these dynamics. Piano, tenutos, 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 whole note with the slur. When this other voice comes in, notice it follows the exact same way. Dynamic, half note, tenuto, rest. Half note, tenuto, rest. Quarter note, tenuto, whole note, slurred, whole note. You'll see that every single note relates back to another note in this music. There's so many layers. The rhythms all match up, right? Every rhythm that comes in is part of this master plan. Every tenuto follows along. All the slurs are part of like a complexity or part of like a series. So Webern was looking for relationships and structure at every single level in the music. Now you might at the end still decide that maybe the thing you like most about his music is that it's really short. Because if you take a look, how long is this, and then compare it to the length of some of the other symphonies that you would imagine. So anyway, what is a symphony? And here was the Webern Symphony Opus 21.